Oh, there we go. Live again? Or not live? Let's see. Oh, yeah. One more time. Oh my gosh. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I'm excited for this one. This is a good one. This is a very, 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 very good one. Let's go. Let's just have some fun. Oh, so many things happening. How is everybody doing? Are you following your dreams? Get ready for a good one, because this is going to be a great one. So, welcome in, legends. Planners, the elite planners. How are y'all doing? You made it to the smartest. Let me get a little less of that audio. There we go. Thank you. Fastest little corner of the internet. Tonight we've got quakes, polls, oil, chaos, and enough madness to make the algorithm need therapy. Hit like, subscribe, become a member, and if you want your take on screen, drop a super chat. Let's cook. There we go. And so what's happening with Mr. POTUS? Talk to me. Let's see what's going on.
75 to 100,000 people, free. They're going to set up 8 big screens, and they're going to have the fight. And then out here, we're going to have 4,000 seats right in front of the front door of the White House. The hardest ticket I've ever had to.
The best live show on earth, June 14th.
This will be the greatest show on earth. Is at night. That's all lighting and cover. And I think you get the idea. So it's going to be June 14th, and it's going to be great. And this is a little different for these political people. And but these are real warriors. When we talk about warriors, these are warriors. Cyril gone.
Eye poker.
These are all
Mr.
champions. I don't have to say champions, and most of you know, many of you know who they are. Cyril, great honor. Alex Pereira, I've seen him knock out a lot of people. That's what he does. He knocks out people. Congratulations on that.
Never met Alex Pereira, but he seems like a great man. Just an absolute legend, honestly. Anyone in the chat meet Alex Pereira? Pahea?
Unbelievable career. Wow. Ilya Topuria, who they say does not get tougher. So it's pretty much, that's it. They're very special. And a friend of mine, Justin Gaethje, who is
another eye poker, another fellow eye poker. What are you guys' thoughts on these people who just eye poke for fun? Not cool, right? And we got Restream Bot back in the chat, so it's going to be so much fun.
A fighter like you've never seen. You see the kind of pounding he'll take, and then all of a sudden it's over, and the other guy's not in good shape, right?
It's a crazy game.
Not in good shape. So these are the toughest people. These are the greatest fighters in the world. They're all champions.
We got Lord Alcatraz 000 saying Trump is the GOAT. There you go, buddy. Yeah, that's right. Trump is the GOAT, buddy. That's right. We got goats in the chat. I'm gonna drop a goat chat right now.
And they'll be fighting against very tough people also. And but I think you always go in thinking you're going to win. Of course. But they're fighting against, they're Olympians. They come from all over the world. Some come from extreme poverty. Some come from, not too many people come from Fifth Avenue for the most part. I would say Fifth Avenue is not well covered in the sport. But it's a special group of people with tremendous heart and really tremendous talent. And I really believe you're probably born with the punch, and you're born with an ability to take a punch too. I was talking to Dana White last night. He was talking about that. Some people can take a punch and some people can't. And in life, it's always good to be able to do that. And if you guys want to say anything, I don't want to pick out individual, but if you want to say anything, you could. But we're going to see you all here on June 14th.
Yeah, I mean, what an unbelievable honor. I mean,
Captain
I'm not
Black,
sure many
there's the
know
goat.
how big of a part you were to the UFC coming on and becoming mainstream in the early 90s when nobody would let us and nobody believed in us and they thought we were just absolute animals. And you gave us a chance to fight in your property.
Well, they're right about that.
Well, yeah.
Somewhat way.
We just, yeah, I mean, it's truly an honor. It's awesome. It's your birthday. Awesome.
Speaking of animals, this man is quite the eye poker. Let's see. What do you guys think? How many eyes has Justin Gaethje poked in the UFC? Just curious. While he is known for a history of severe vision issues, he has not lost any. Before undergoing... No. How many eyes has poked? At least 6 different opponents during his UFC career. Paddy Pimblett, which we saw, that was just outrageous, dude. How could he do that to somebody like Paddy Pimblett? Come on, man. Come on. We got Rafael Fiziev multiple times, and Pimblett multiple times. Edson Barboza, Tony Ferguson, Dustin Poirier, James Vick. Just an eye poker, bro. Just an eye poker extraordinaire.
Awesome. It's Flag Day. Wonderful to represent this country. These guys aren't from this country, but I'm sure it's an honor for them as well. But I think we'd be 10 years behind if it wasn't for you. And so thank you for that.
Well, Justin, it's great being with you. You know, what he's saying is right. They couldn't get, Dana says it better than anybody can say it. They couldn't get any arenas because it was so violent that they couldn't get arenas. I was able to give them, I guess, the first 4 or 5 fights.
Yep.
And I went,
Good
and I
man,
said,
man.
This sport is unbelievable. They had some of the greatest fighting I've ever seen, and it's continued on. Now it's really at a new level because the talent is much greater than it was even.
By the way, y'all, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every single day of 2026, and become a member. Just tap that join button. Throw in a super chat. It helps the channel just survive, you know. And we're running this without ads over here because we want it quick and fresh and clean for y'all. And then the replays are going to have ads in them. But just want to tell you, I appreciate your support. I love you. The Lord loves you. And let's hear what they have to say about POTUS. And once you do become a member or throw in a super chat, we bring out Veronica. And everybody loves Veronica. Let's go, POTUS. Talk to us.
And then much tougher, these are the best in the world right here. So I think you could hope a lot of the press is going to be there. And I think this is going to be an event you're really going to like. Anybody want to say? We have all of the great representatives there. They're making a lot of money. They're making a lot of money. Look at that guy over there. Don't fight that one right there. But do you have anything to say? How about?
We got Steven Benson in the chat saying, what a P3D. What a POS with a PI. And then a G at the very end. What do you think, Chad? Do you agree with this guy?
You.
Me?
Manager?
Like Justin said, without President Trump, probably the UFC will be 20 years behind. He gave us the jump start from the beginning. And I think this is going to be the greatest sport event ever created on planet Earth. It's going to be the most watched sport event on planet Earth. What an honor to fight on the ground, red and white and blue.
What's going on with the camera guy? We don't even see who's talking right now.
I know Justin is only American, but it's an honor for a guy from France, Spain, Brazil.
Oh, good idea, Captain Black. We'll do right now, brother.
That America's the dream. All those guys live in the American dream, and all of us live in an American dream. It's an honor to be in Oval Office, and it's an honor to have a president actually welcome the people. Welcome the people. Most of the presidents are just too good to do other things with other people. But this is the greatest president of all the time in any country, in any world, in any time. And thank you, President Trump.
I tell you, I like him. That was I made a good move by asking him to say that. That was very good. Thank you. I really do. I appreciate it. Well, you're one of the greats and one of the great managers too, and a very good friend of a very special fighter that we know, right?
Yes, sir.
Khabib,
Yes, Khabib.
who fought 29 fights. I think he won 29 fights, right? He had a tough fight with this guy right here.
I was his 29th.
That was some fight. So they're going to be going outside. Would you guys, anybody like to say something? I mean, if you want.
We want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to build the biggest event in sports history. I also want to thank God to give us this beautiful day and to
What a gentleman Ilya Topuria is. There we go, buddy.
give us the opportunity to experience how it feels to be in our Oval Office. So it's going to be amazing, and we want to thank you for
Thank
this
you very
opportunity.
much. Thank you.
We got Lord Alcatraz saying UFC is one of the only sports that is still based. Can you tell me what you mean by based? I don't understand that word, buddy. At me.
Very much.
Fantastic.
And I never thought you will be so kind.
Well, I haven't.
Yeah.
We got Hello Kitty SGTC saying MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. Absolutely brilliant. We got some cool emojis for you. We got Trump, and then we have MAGA, If you support Trump, let's see, is it popping up there or not? Nope, not popping up there. Here, I'll show you how to do that in a sec. Actually, yeah.
A false image.
And then also we got some for the people who love septum piercings. We have septum. Let me see. How can I do this? Here we go. Oh, here it is, right here. Popping it up right now. Oh, we got Trump, we got goats, we got septum, we got MAGA hat, we got the microphone that's on fire after a roast.
And why you wanted to give the toughest test to you, to friend of
To which?
you, the friend of you. You said he's friend of you.
Oh, yeah?
You wanted to give him the
That's what I want.
I do want to give. I want to give the hardest test. Is right. We're going to give the hardest test, and actually, each one of you are fighting your hardest test. I think, right?
Yeah.
How do you think you know your opponent very well? Very tough.
I know him,
How do you
very
think?
tough opponent.
Do you feel good?
Very good.
What are your chances of winning?
Me?
Yeah.
I have complete
So this is
faith.
Ilya
100%,
Topuria,
right?
and this is Justin Gaethje right here. They're talking about each other, right in front of each other.
That's why you're here.
Yeah, and they believe that too. Would you like to
And
say
I hope
something?
he has the same.
Of winning.
Me?
Yeah.
I have complete faith.
100%, right?
That's why you're here.
Yeah, and they believe that too. Would you like to
And
say
I hope
something?
he has the
too?
same faith.
He believes it 100%. We got Donald Piatko 216 saying, "Hey, F you, Trump. You W are criminals." There you go. There you go.
That's right.
That's going to make an amazing fight.
It's going to be great, yeah. That's right. Would you like to?
I made a typo in the. Oh man, thank you, CAI.
Queria agradecer a oportunidade de estar lutando na Casa Branca, como o senhor falou. Um evento único onde todos queriam estar lutando e a gente está fazendo parte desse feito tão especial.
I would like to thank the opportunity to be fighting on the White House. We know it's a special event that everybody would like to be present to make it feel special. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One of the greatest punches in the history of the business. I just shook his hand. He has a large hand. That's a powerful hand. I'll tell you. It's they're very unusual people, born with great talent, and then they hone the talent. I'll save you for last, okay? Because he loves his country so much, but I'll save you for last.
Yes, sir.
Please, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. It's an honor. I'm really proud. It's going to be really special one time in my life. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much.
It's an honor to have you here.
It's humble.
Leah, how you doing?
We'll
Good
all be
morning.
there watching, and you guys are something special, so we're gonna all be there watching. I don't know how you do it, but they wouldn't have it any other way. They love the sport. They really love the sport. They come out of a ring or the most incredible fight you've ever seen, and they say, "This is the greatest sport." I could do it. I'd rather sink a 3-footer personally, but there's no better thing to watch than this. And Justin is known as just one of the truly, obviously talented and everything else, but he's got more heart and he just has an ability.
Oh, we've got an interesting one coming over here. We got by Curly Eastbourne saying Donald getting played by Iran. Those guys have PhDs and Trump has FIFA Peace Prize. There you go.
They call it a motor He's got a motor that...
By the way, we're going live every single day of 2026, so make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member. Throw in a super chat if you want. We read all of the super chats if you want your super chat to be heard. And yeah, become a member because you have so many great benefits. So many great benefits, and it helps the channel survive. Talk to us, brothers. Talk to us. And we're also developing the best community on the internet. It's amazing.
It doesn't stop, and that's all starts. It all starts right up here.
Yep, here and here. And I mean, I learned that going up to small town Safford, Arizona. Copper, cattle, and cotton. That's what we do down there. 3 generations in the copper mine. So, yeah, like you said, none of us come from opportunity or wealth, and this is one of the truest merit-based systems in the world. This sport right here. Everybody has an opportunity, and we all get a chance, and we will get a chance. And so, of course, my faith is as strong as his, and
He answered the
I've
question.
committed my whole life to this. And so, to have a president that's willing to go against an upstream and against the norms. It's truly special. It's why you got my vote, and it's why we're such a great nation right now, compared to where we were.
Well, we all love you. He's got tremendous fan base. Each one of these people, these in
Well-dressed gentlemen. Well-dressed.
the sporting world.
Oh, that's really cool. They put the American flag right there, right next to the, right behind the UFC title belt. There we go.
Because I think most of the sporting world
Chat, who are you excited to see here?
was watching the UFC, but Dana White was here last night. We were talking about it. He said they've never had anything like what's happening. The problem was everybody wanted to fight. You know, we had so many guys. They all say we want to fight at the White House.
Well,
but
they all said we don't want to because of optics, and then they cried when they didn't get on it. So.
that's right. Yeah, now
User TT, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
they're crying.
Now they're crying.
But it's true. But anyway, so they're going to go outside. They're going to have some pictures taken on the balcony, the Truman balcony. I think they're going up to Truman. And there's a beautiful balcony on the White House. And do you have any questions? Only for the fighters now, I think. They want to ask about Iran and a couple of other things.
I could try on.
Go ahead.
I'll bridge this. Here you
I
go.
guess that's fighting also.
Wait, this will work. You're facing an opponent right now in Iran that has refused to submit. You seem optimistic now, so you may be closer to a deal. What's different about this moment now than in other moments where a deal has seemed close?
Well, why do you say that?
Oops. Yeah. Great question right
Didn't
there,
reveal
man.
what he's discussing.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. What's the chat up to? What? We got Lord Alcatraz saying the TDS in here off the charts. You gets need to accept the reality instead of what you identify as. There you go. We got user TT jumping in on the chat saying, how are there still Democrats? How are there still Democrats? Yeah, that's a great question, honestly. Oh, you tried to say you guys. That's what I thought first, but I wanted to read it for you. We got Dragoon Edwin saying, libtards are better than P3D. C words. There you go, dude. That's a little aggressive, but pretty good. No worries. And also, that's the wonderful thing about freedom of speech, right? Just absolutely incredible. Speaking of Trump, life after Trump, right? It's going to be an interesting one.
And every day we get more and more evidence that Trump's agenda is losing Republican support outside of the MAGA base. Trump angered members of his own party by mishandling the release of the Epstein files, an issue Trump blundered so badly that a majority of Republicans now say they think this government is hiding something. Look at those numbers. Trump launched a disastrous war in Iran, a war that is so unpopular that only 46% of Republicans think the operation has been successful.
46.
Trump's war drove up gas prices so fast and so high that even a majority of Republicans now say Trump is to blame. Trump is insistent on punishing Republicans who cross him because he knows.
Stacy Lynn, how you doing? Good to see you.
That if he doesn't, they will have every incentive to turn on him in order to save themselves. Let's not forget that the entire reason today's contested primary is even happening is because Trump is scared of losing the midterms. So scared that he demanded Republicans rig their
Captain Blackbird. Yeah, I think it just did turn off for some reason, but you know, we'll see more of it.
To engineer their victory. Here was former Transportation Secretary and Indiana native Pete Buttigieg on that very point at a rally in Indiana.
We got Barry Reed, 3092, dropping some knowledge in the chat saying, I thought presidents don't control the gas prices. Good question, good question. We're going live every day of 2026, so make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member, throw in a super chat if you want.
Annapolis just last year.
We are here because Indiana Republicans are being pressured by Washington Republicans to do something that they know in their hearts is wrong.
I just got to do that once in a while.
They are being pressured to change the rules so that voters don't have a say anymore, and they know that that is wrong. And we know why they're doing it, which is because the agenda of Washington Republicans is so unpopular that even here in Indiana, they're afraid of losing if they have to run on a fair map.
All right, which one of you is bringing out the cat? You got to tell me which one of you is bringing out the cat. Take it easy on the kitten. Oh my gosh. You guys are too wild.
That was back in September. And joining me now is former Transportation Secretary and former Mayor of South Bend, Indiana, Pete Buttigieg. I mean, it is, first of all, it's great to see you.
We got Rich Fisher, Ultra Mega here winning. There you go, buddy. Happy to have you here. We have Alec Matthews, Go Cat, someone. Good man. W's in the chat, man. W's in the chat for Alec, man. We're going live every day of 2026. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member, throw in a super chat if you want.
You are from Indiana. I just played, it's great. Yeah, it's great to see you. I just played that clip of you calling out what the Trump administration was up to way back in September. This has been going on that long. I think it's important for people to remember. And now 5 Trump-backed candidates have now won their races. One incumbent has hung on. One is still in the air. I wonder what you make of the results tonight. And more importantly, I wonder how you think about the significance of really what we've seen over the last several months in Indiana.
Well, it was striking to see just how much money the Republican Party had to put into Indiana, millions and millions of dollars, against Republicans, just to police the boundaries of their own coalition, because a number of them blew off President Trump and blew off J.D. Vance for the reasons that as we described in that rally, had to do with them knowing that they were being pressured to do something wrong. I think the biggest difference between what it felt like back in September and now is that it's not just a series of unpopular policies. That's been true the whole time. Most Americans disagree with the Republican agenda in Congress of cutting taxes for the wealthy and cutting services for the rest of us. But what's really mounted now is how much the results are also failing. We've lived with the price of the tariffs, and now we've also lived with the fact that they failed to restore manufacturing jobs in the country. We have now been living with the consequences of this Iran war and living with the increased price in everything from mortgage rates going up to diesel, where I live in Michigan, hitting an all-time high. All is a direct consequence of the White House and congressional Republicans. So, that dynamic continues, and it's why in a season when they should be doing everything they can to beat Democrats, they instead had to deploy millions of dollars just to beat existing Republicans and replace them with other Republicans, all because the president was mad at them.
Yeah, it's like, congratulations on your $12 million you spent to replace some Republicans with other Republicans. Good job when you're at risk of losing the House, the Senate, and gubernatorial seats.
Debuno jumping in on the chat. How you doing, buddy? Saying the Democrats represent 6% if they are lucky. There you go. Let's see this. Oh, by the way, we got Turbo Munch. Here, read this. This is for you. Turbo Munch. Let's see if I can. Let's see if this will work. But this should explain it to you. Nope, didn't. Read that one. Restream bot isn't a person. There you go. It just relays chat from YouTube, TikTok, Kick, Rumble, Twitch. So if you see that @ sign at the very end of that Restream bot, that's actually a person, because we're streaming on multiple platforms right now, buddy. We're developing the best community in the world. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member, throw in a super chat, and if Turbo Munch, Turbo Man Munch doesn't care and didn't ask, just making a statement. Oh, well, bless you, buddy. Thank you for being here. So happy to have you here. Wonderful. That's what you get for trying to help somebody, right? When you try to help someone understand, well, bam.
Let me ask you something. We have talked before about sort of what politics could be, what we all hope it will be again. I mean, these Republicans in Indiana, you probably don't agree with them on much. I don't agree with them on much in terms of their policies, but they knew it was coming if they stood up.
Yeah, user TT. He does seem nice. We got to invite him to the barbecue. He's got to cruise out to the barbecue. Yeah.
Trump, they stood up to him anyways. They decided,
or she, or they, whatever it is.
Some of them at least, that there are worse things than losing an election. I just wonder how different you think our country and our politics could be if more Republicans had that in them. And do you think, you've been traveling out there in the country, that there are more of them out there?
I do. I mean, I see it everywhere I go. We have been going to a lot of more conservative areas. We did a town hall in Oklahoma. It was great. We had about 2,000 people come out. I was in Marjorie Taylor Greene's old district where we had hundreds of people come out, and the Democratic candidate overperformed by about 25 points. I'm headed to Montana soon, and there are a lot of people on all sides of the aisle who are fed up with
Cali Chica. How you doing? Good to see ya.
The role of money in politics and taking action to do something about it. So I do believe a different kind of politics is possible. Look, Democrats are always going to disagree with Republicans. I'm always going to disagree on a lot of issues with Republicans. But if we're all actually talking about what we believe in, that is better than Republicans repeatedly having to feel pressure to either lose their careers or do something wrong because the president is demanding it of them. And I think what we saw also...
The Chad USA jumping in on the chat saying, cannot trust the media at all. Yeah, man, there you go. It's hard to. And that's one of these things with the channel. What we're doing here is we're trying to find the truth within these words and these actions and what they're really trying to do in the background and how we can make our lives better. So make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member, throw in a super chat if you want.
So, and this is a really important thing to think about as we go.
Yeah, the cat did just assault that dude. We got Debuno saying Democrats are on the wrong side of history.
Go into the future is there are a lot of Republicans in office now who...
And we got Max Studios saying, shut up, Pete. So there you go. We shut him up, bro, just for you.
We're realizing that their political career, even if they do lose an election along the way, is going to last longer than Donald Trump's domination of the Republican Party. They are planning for life after Trump. Democrats need to learn to do the same thing, not only to vigorously oppose what he's doing wrong, as we must, but to make clear our constructive governing agenda for what we will begin to do on that day when he leaves the political scene. And if people feel what we are seeking to do, to lower their healthcare costs, to lower the cost of groceries, to make sure that you can actually afford to raise a family and buy a home in this country, I think that's how we can build a durable majority in a country where people already largely agree with us on issues from taxes to choice, but where they need to see that we're also prepared to deliver.
Yeah, I think that's a big takeaway from the election in 2024. No question. I mean, tonight, and we're about to talk to Dr. Amy Acton. We're gonna keep talking about politics through the course of the show. But one of the backdrops, and you alluded to this, is certainly the war with Iran, and there are so many impacts on the country. Obviously, the members of the military whose lives have been lost, and gas prices skyrocketing. There are lots of impacts on communities across the country. It's just so rare for a national security issue to be a driver for voters. I wonder as you're talking to people out there and just your political sense, how much do you think that is a driver right now for people in the country, Democrats, independents, and others who are really deciding where they're going to be in this moment?
Well, the reason I think this is driving so much right now is because the Iran war is affecting Americans' everyday life, and people know it. This is not just a matter of agreeing or disagreeing about some academic question of foreign policy that only affects people in a far-off land. This is something that has come home to us in the most immediate way. We are paying more every day for a war that the American people didn't ask for. You add to that the fact that it's so insulting to Donald Trump's own voters who believed him when he said he would keep us out of wars, and to veterans who have put their lives on the line for this country. And I think that's also a reason why you're seeing a lot of extraordinary results for people who have served. Shedrick Green is performing very well. The numbers are coming in as we speak in Michigan. I had the privilege of campaigning with him, going door to door in Michigan, in the community of Midland. From what we can tell, there's been a dramatic swing toward Democrats in that district. Now, that's for the Michigan State Senate. It's not that people, I think, expect the Michigan State Senate to be voting on matters of war and peace. It's this expectation that we look for leaders who will do right by us, and that includes leaders who've served themselves.
We're going to talk to him at the end of the show. That's quite a tee-up for him as well. So we'll talk to him in a little bit. I don't know if you've noticed this. I'm betting you have. But the default defense from these guys is in the Trump administration, others 18 months into their administration, seems to be to blame Joe Biden and the Biden administration, from inflation numbers to gas prices to an airline going under. They just want to blame the administration you and I both worked in. I think because they don't want to acknowledge their policies are doing the damage. To me, it's pretty pathetic. But what do you think it tells us about them?
Well, it's an extraordinary show of weakness to see the Trump administration, when you have something like Spirit Airlines, for example, going out of business because of jet fuel prices going through the roof because of the war in Iran, and they've made very clear.
That's outrageous. That's absolutely outrageous. Whenever a company has to go out of business because of oil prices, so sad. So sad.
That's why that airline went under. To have the Trump administration desperately trying to say, oh no, this is actually because 3 years ago the Biden administration got involved in an antitrust case involving the airline, when everybody can see that what is happening is a direct consequence of the unnecessary, unpopular, and unsuccessful policies of the Trump administration. Look, when you are this deep into your second year, if your reflex is to still be trying to blame the previous administration, it really shows that you are out of ideas, out of solutions, and unwilling to take ownership of your own choices like this Iran war that has cost so much already in this country and beyond.
You mentioned, and I think this is so important, Democrats have to talk about what they're for and the contrast. And I think a lot of people are starting to do that more and more and more over the last several months. And today we learned that Republicans want to spend $1 billion in taxpayer money to fund Trump's ballroom. Which last I checked was supposed to cost $400 million in private funding. I would note, but
how much? And it's just wonderful to hear from both sides, right?
Republicans want to spend $1 billion in taxpayer money to fund Trump's ballroom.
Only $1 billion. What about all that money that's going, across the pond?
It is, which last I checked was supposed to cost $400 million in private funding, I would note. But my point is, every day we get these new headlines about new vanity projects, new ways the president and his family are enriching themselves. How much do you think that should be? Because you got to decide what you talk about right out there. How much do you think that should be a part of the conversation right now?
I think our job is to connect the dots. None of these things happens in isolation. And the reason why it is so infuriating to see this administration make the choices that it's making is that it relates to what's happening every day, right? Every penny of your taxpayer money that the president tries to spend, not on security, to be clear, but on a fancy ballroom to host parties for VIPs in, is related to the dollars they are taking away from your health care. And every minute that they spend on things like the latest news today, renaming the airport in Palm Beach after Donald Trump, is attention and energy that is coming away from things like dealing with very real problems in the aviation sector today in America. So none of these things happens in isolation, but I think our job is to make very clear how everyday life could be better in this country, that it doesn't have to be this way. But that means addressing the corruption, addressing this mismanagement, the self-dealing, and the plain old bad policy coming from this administration, and replacing it with an agenda that will put food on the table, that will make healthcare more affordable, that will mean that you can get things like paid leave when you need it to take care of your family, and a fairer tax code that will see to it that a teacher or a nurse or a firefighter in America is not paying, as it is today, a higher tax rate than billionaires. These are things the American people already agree with us on. We just got to make sure we keep the focus squarely on the connections among all these issues. And see.
We got Owa Rife saying, instead of rich versus poor, you argue with your uncle you used to play catch with. Yeah, buddy. There you go. There you go. Yeah. TLC says, can watch inflation go from 8% to 2% from the Inflation Reduction Act, and MAGA can still find a way to blame anyone else. There we go. There we go. Y'all were crying because Primal Screams wasn't here, and Primal Screams has joined the chat, y'all. Primal Screams has joined the chat, so you know what that means. It's going to be a good one. And Primal Scream says, our king deserves a ballroom. What do you think, chat? Do you agree with that? There just might be like a hint of sarcasm in that one. I don't know for sure, but just might be. Oh, Primal Screams. Our extremely friendly Primal Screams. Someone was asking for Hegseth, so I got something for you. I got Mr. Hegseth right here for you. Let's see what's going on, Mr. Hegseth. Talk to us, buddy.
Which is where we'll start with.
Mr. Hegseth, the one and only. What do you think, chat? You guys are fans of the Hegseth, or not so much? Not so much. Hegseth has seen better days. Proud supporter of Mr. Hegseth. Talk to us, Mr. Hegseth.
With a message to Iran's military leadership, to the KH leadership and IRGC leadership, we're watching you. Our capabilities are not the same, our military and yours. Remember, this is not a fair fight. And we know what military assets you are moving and where you are moving them to. While you are digging out, which is exactly what you're doing, digging out of bombed out and devastated facilities, we are only getting stronger. You are digging out your remaining launchers and missiles with no ability to replace them. You have no defense industry. No ability to replenish your offense.
We got Case Skull 0072 saying MAGA isn't blaming anyone else. They are comparing it. There you go, buddy. There you go.
Or defensive capabilities. You only have what you have. You know that, and we know that. You can move things around, but you can't actually rebuild. You can dig out for now, but you can't reconstitute. But we can.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right.
to end the war with Iran's regime appears.
So, there we go. Kelly Chica saying, that's deep, brah. That's deep. Captain Black, you are like Tucker Carlson. Traitor starts foaming from the mouth right there. All right, so we got some cautious optimism. Trump believes a deal with Iran could be reached in a week, but hurdles remain. Hurdles do remain. Let's see what's happening over here.
To be coming together. News of a potential one-page agreement.
Tech support 891 says, can't believe anything he says. Anything. Who is the he? Who are you talking about, buddy? Good to see you again. Comedy villain. Imaginary. Yeah, all imaginary.
President Trump is now touting great progress in the push for peace. And the punch of positivity is already...
Primal Screams. There you go. Dropping some knowledge in the chat. Oh, you're talking about Pete Hegseth? Cool. Thanks, buddy. Primal says, I could not give two C-raps about Isser Ale. I don't live there. Double B is a war criminal. Let others fight their wars. Who can argue with Primal Screams there? Who can argue with her?
Having a fast effect. Oil prices have fallen below $100 a barrel. Markets are soaring right now. My team may pop that up as I'm talking about it. But it's impressive how quickly that response was. And those oil prices will eventually hit gasoline on the market. I mean, all of this is positive. Let's see how long this holds. Iran is expected to respond within hours. So that deadline on them is tight. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. President Trump posted this on his Truth Social earlier this morning. Assuming Iran agrees to give what has been agreed to, which is, perhaps, a big assumption, the already legendary Epic Fury will be at an end, and the highly effective blockade will allow the Hormuz Strait to be open to all, including Iran. If they don't agree, the bombing starts. And this, the blockade will remain in full force and effect. Project Freedom, the movement of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, will be paused for a short period of time.
That's pretty gnarly statement. Trump says bombing starts if Iran will not agree to the deal. Man, oh man. Man, oh man. Polarizing figure, right?
Secretary of State Rubio with this on the military phase of the war. He said this late yesterday.
Their missile launching capability has been substantially degraded, and their industrial base, their defense industrial base, has been severely damaged. So their ability to build a shield...
Tara, how you doing? Good morning, good morning.
...behind which they could hide their nuclear program was wiped out. That's a very substantial achievement.
We got Rest Day 81 saying, what kind of weird echo chamber is this? What do you mean by that, buddy? Thank you for jumping in on the chat, but are we echoing right now? What's going on?
And that was the purpose of this operation from day one.
Their nuclear material in order for this
Barry Mack, how you doing, buddy? Good morning.
war to end.
Well, that's one of the topics that needs to be discussed. I don't know about, I think you're linking it. The operation is over. Epic Fury, as the president notified Congress, we're done with that stage of it. Operation Epic Fury is concluded. We achieved the objectives of that operation. I'm not going to, we're not cheering for an additional situation to occur. We would prefer the path of peace. What the president would prefer is a deal.
Retired four-star Air Force General Charles Wald will be with me in moments. First, let's go to Peter Doocy at the White House, where the news is moving very fast. Peter.
Very fast, Harris, and you were just talking about this. We've got the details of this 14-point plan, according to Axios. Under the banner, U.S. and Iran closing in on one-page memo to end the war. We've got these: a 5-year ban on nuclear enrichment, which would be less than the 20-year ban President Trump previously said he didn't like. There would be limits of 4% enrichment after that. There would be a ban on underground nuclear facilities, a vow to never seek a nuclear weapon, commitment to enhanced nuclear inspections, and an end to restrictions on travel through the Strait of Hormuz.
One-page memo to end the war. officials say. All right, so what do you think about these 5 key provisions? You got the 5-year ban on nuclear enrichment. Limits of 4% after that. Okay. So a 5-year ban. Okay. Ban on underground nuclear facilities. They got to be above ground. Okay, so they're not extremely protected. They're easier to get to if need be. Vow to never seek a nuclear weapon. Never seek? To never seek a nuclear weapon. Okay. And commitment to enhanced nuclear inspections. What if every country committed to enhanced nuclear inspections, like every single one? Allies, non-allies. What would happen then? And to restrictions allowing oil tankers to travel through the straits. Okay. These don't seem like so bad. You know, maybe the first 2, 3, 4, but I don't know, man. I don't know. But it just depends. Like, is Iran in enough pain to agree to this, or do they need to go through more, or is this even real? You know, how do we know this is actually real?
President Trump, though, is telling the New York Post it's too soon right now to schedule a new round of in-person talks with Iran. So this is a very high-stakes game of telephone, still led by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner.
Not a bot. GPT says something very interesting. He says, Iser Ale won't. Not a bot. Happy to have you in the chat, buddy. How you doing?
I'm not always going to be one, but if there's a real diplomatic path and we continue to explore it, Steve and Jared are working on that very hard. If there is one there, it could be one that leads them to...
Rust Day 81, thank you for your chat, buddy. Thank you for your chat. Saying an echo chamber is an environment typically found on social media or within specific online communities where a person only encounters information or opinions that reflect and reinforce their own. Oh, I see what you're saying. Why am I not seeing it here? But so, after that statement, like, what do you think this channel is about? We're trying to be centrist, you know. I have my personal opinions, but I still try to be centrist. And if you don't mind me asking, what are you? Do you identify as someone in the middle, the left, the right? A he, a she, a they? And welcome to the chat, buddy. Happy to have you here.
To reconstruction, to prosperity, and to stability, and to not posing a threat to the world.
Get your breakfast,
the alternative is growing isolation, economic collapse, and ultimately total defeat.
We don't know how many Iranian leaders who ordered protesters a couple months ago murdered are still there, but a separate piece of this puzzle is avoiding future slaughter of protesters by arming them.
Do you plan to arm them soon?
Well, I don't want to say that, but yeah, I mean, people say, why aren't they protesting? They want to protest, but they don't have any guns. So you could have 200,000 people protesting and have 5 or 6 sick people with guns, and when they start shooting them right between the eyes.
And Reuters is reporting in a bulletin that just crossed that the Israelis did not know folks here at the White House were so close to a deal, if that is in fact where we are, so close to a deal. So the Israelis had been preparing to ramp fighting up with Iran until this morning. Harris.
Yeah, I'm looking at that Reuters right now. That seems very significant that they didn't know, because in the beginning it was Roaring Lion operation and Epic Fury. Epic Fury now, State Secretary Rubio told us, is over. Your last quick one.
Yes, remember, Netanyahu and Trump were here at the beginning. Everything was happening together. So it seems like at the end, they are not necessarily coordinating as closely.
Peter Doocy, getting us started. I appreciate you. Thank you. In focus now, retired 4-star Air Force General Charles Wald, former Deputy Commander of U.S. European Command. Sir, great to have you. I want to start with that bit of news, with Israel and the United States maybe not being yoked as they were at the beginning of the war. Your reaction?
I'd be pretty surprised if the Israelis and the United States aren't in pretty much lockstep. I mean, you hear things in public, but there's a lot of discussion going on. Our main issue in the Middle East, frankly, besides the fact that Iran is so provocative, is
Not a bot GPT says, I am center and identify as a bot. Love your creativity, bro. Awesome. We got Garmick saying, pure class, brother. Pure class. And tech support jumping in on the chat, saying Trump cares about protesters. Absolutely, Trump cares. Trump loves you. I love you. Everybody loves you. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We are going live every single day of 2026.
is the security of Israel and our GCC friends, and I think we need to stick with that. We won't. I don't think we'll waver from that. That'll be the end state.
Look, it feels like, and we'll set just aside what happened today for a second. When Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that Operation Epic Fury yesterday was over, we could get a sense, and that's why you saw reporters really leaning in with questions on that perhaps...
DeBuno making a very good point over here, saying absolutely he deserves the ballroom, especially when it's being paid by private donations and not tax dollars. What do you think, Chad? What do you think? Good idea? Good idea?
Something was on the horizon, and now word of a one-page deal. I want to get your direct thoughts on the strategy that has gotten us here in the last 24 hours.
Well, I think from my perspective, there's two things. One is the security of our friends, Israel, I mentioned, and the GCC countries in the Middle East. That's paramount. And then...
Oh, we got a cool one. We got a very cool one. Russ Day 81 says, I would say I'm a media skeptic. A person who questions the credibility, bias, and motives of mainstream information sources. Smart. I think that's one of the best ways to approach media and life, actually. You know, try to be balanced and try to see where there's fallacies and logical inaccuracies. Very smart, very smart. Thanks for the chat, buddy.
Number two is for the Iranians not to have a nuclear capability. They're associated, but they're somewhat separate. And I think...
Can't argue with Captain Blackbird here. He says, follow the money. That's right, buddy.
Both of those are objectives of the United States. I mean, we will never let... I thought Secretary Rubio did a super job yesterday, as a matter of fact. And I think he explained it very well. And names, Epic Fury, Project Freedom, you name it, those are interesting names. But the end state for us is a secure Middle East that isn't threatened by Iran.
Do you think we can move the ball on Iran with the nuclear capability that they have? Not a lot of it above 60% enriched uranium, but they're moving toward that weapons grade, as we've known all along.
Well, I kind of look at it as two kind of the associated phases. One is the diplomatic side, which we've heard a lot about, and number two is the reality. And I think for the United States, anything that Iran does to have a nuclear capability in the future has to be addressed and will continue to be addressed every day, regardless of what you call the agreement. So,
okay.
Number one, I think the IRGC is back on its heels. I think that it's going to take some time, but I think the number one issue there was that they fail, and number two is that we secure Israel and the GCC countries as our allies.
All right, I want to get to this. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also talked about gas prices. That's where Americans' heads are. If you talk with any of these voters in primary season, let's watch.
We don't benefit from the straits as much as other countries. I don't know if you've seen what the gas prices are like in other parts of the world that are really suffering big time.
Barry, what are you talking about? What did I promise? What did I promise?
We're very fortunate that the United States, I believe right now, is like the world's largest net exporter of oil and natural gas as a result, not because of this war, but because we have this capacity. So we've been insulated to some degree. Everybody needs to think about it this way. If Iran had a nuclear weapon and they decided to close the straits and make our gas prices like $9 a gallon or $8 a gallon, we wouldn't be able to do anything about it because they have a nuclear weapon. And a nuclear-armed Iran can do whatever the hell they want.
How is today different?
I don't think today is any different. I think there's a lot of rhetoric on TV and in the diplomatic discussions. I think the end state for us again is that Iran doesn't have a capability to threaten anybody in the world with a nuclear weapon, and number two, that we secure Israel along with them and our GCC counterparts. And there's a lot of rhetoric you hear on the news and such. I thought that, like I said, I thought the Secretary did a great job. But the end state, as far as I'm concerned, is a Middle East where Iran can't threaten its neighbors and doesn't have a nuclear weapon, period.
You know, last quick question. Do you think we will own Iran then? I mean, you're talking about potentially helping people on the ground. What does that look like?
I think we help the people. First of all, I'm not a big fan of invading Iran necessarily, although I think on the coastline we could do some things that would secure the Straits of Hormuz. We do not want to own Iran.
I don't know if anyone is a fan of what the United States decided to do with Iran. Is anyone? Should we run that poll? What do you guys think?
The people of Iran need to own Iran. We need to have set the stage where the people of Iran can have a government that doesn't threaten the rest of the Middle East, and that's our objective. We don't want to own Iran.
General Wald, always great to see you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Harris.
Now to the war in Iran. President Trump putting a pin in Project Freedom for now. The U.S. has sent over a new one-page memo to Tehran outlining a framework to end the war and restart nuclear talks. Let's bring in Brent Sadler, retired U.S. Navy captain and former Pentagon official. So, according to Axios, this is the outlines of a memorandum of understanding. Declare an end to the war, start a 30-day negotiating period. It would be a moratorium on enrichment. Upon expiration of that moratorium, the U.S. wants 20 years. Iran's asking for 5. They might settle somewhere in the middle. Enrichment will be limited to a max of 3.67%. No underground nuclear facilities. Iran to never pursue nuclear weapons. Iran to remove the nuclear dust, as the president calls it, to an outside country, possibly the United States. Enhanced inspections of its nuclear facilities, including SNAP IAEA inspections. Free passage through the Strait of Hormuz, and the U.S. to gradually lift sanctions. It all sounds good, but do they know who to talk to about this?
Well, that's one part of this. The other part is, will the Iranians basically change their colors and actually start to be a party you can trust on this? Now, the timelines are pretty
47 years of history would suggest no.
So trust but verify, and that verification part is going to be the failure or the success of these new proposals if they're accepted. The timing of this is also very interesting because you've got the Iranian foreign minister who's in Beijing right now when the pause was put on Project Freedom on the opening up shipping routes at the same time.
And you've got the president heading to Beijing next week as well to meet with
what's
Xi
going to happen there?
Jinping. So a lot going on when it comes to China. Esmail Hamane is the spokesman for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Iran. He said this: the U.S. proposal is still being considered by Iran, and after summarizing its points of view, Iran will convey its views to the Pakistani side, which is acting as a mediator. I mean, it seems like a positive statement, but 47 years of history would indicate it means nothing.
No, one of the things clearly the Iranians have wanted to do since the beginning of this conflict is to run the clock. And again, keeping the blockade in place is a key way of keeping the pressure on the Iranians and the focus on them, to include even their biggest benefactor in Beijing, a customer of the said oil that would otherwise be flowing out of the Persian Gulf. So as long as the blockade is on, the pressure is on them, I think time is on the U.S. side. But clearly, there is an expectation on the Iranian side that they can win this by waiting us out perhaps until elections here.
You know, they remind me of a puffer fish.
K-School jumping in on the chat saying, whatever happened about asking yourself what you can do for your country and not what your country can do for you? There we go. Captain Blackbird jumping in on the chat right after him, but it might be better if I don't read that one. Barry Mack saying TDS alive and well. There we go.
You see in Caribbean reefs, right? That when it's threatened, it puffs itself up to look much bigger than it actually is, but there's nothing inside but air. President Trump said that there's going to be consequences for Iran if it doesn't accept this deal. Here's what he put on Truth Social. If they don't agree, the bombing starts, and it will be sadly at a much higher level and intensity than it was before. There's an old saying in politics that when your opponent's down, keep your foot on his neck. Is that what we need to do with Iran here?
I think so. And clearly, there's going to be a need to demonstrate American power. We did that briefly with the Project Freedom, clearly opening. And even though the Iranians tried to attack the shipping and U.S. Navy, they were ineffective and they missed their shots completely. So we might need another reminder. I think if this current exchange, diplomatic notes, fails, the folks in Tehran should be put on notice very quickly that the pain may be coming.
The people who were driving those fast boats that were trying to attack American ships certainly learn what happens very quickly when you attack a U.S. Navy vessel.
Absolutely.
All right. Good to see you, Brett. Thanks so
Likewise.
much. Appreciate it. Sandra?
Revolution, and she is a scholar of Middle East studies and follows these situations very closely day to day. Nazi, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me back.
So you hear the president. He says that they want to make a deal. He says we have won in terms of the military goals of this war. What's your reaction?
So there is no doubt that projection of power beyond Iran's borders have been greatly diminished, and Iran is no longer the threat it used to be prior to February 28th. I am a little hesitant to say, as the president suggested just now, that the regime change has already happened. It's still a theocratic state. It's still the Islamic Republic of Iran. It still goes by the constitution that was approved by Khamenei and Khomeini. Khomeini, the founder of the Islamic Revolution, back in 19...
How does she do that? Let's hear it again.
Islamic Republic of Iran. It still goes by the constitution that was approved by Khamenei and Khomeini. Khomeini, the founder of the Islamic Revolution.
Very talented. Very talented. Absolutely. She might be a beatboxer on the side. Making those absolutely wonderful sound effects.
Back in 1980, repressive apparatus is still very much in power.
Humbly, right? Jumping in on the chat saying it's the Yiddish in her. There you go, buddy. There you go. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every single day of 2026, and become a member if you want. Get a lot of perks, and throw in a super chat if you want. And yeah, enjoy this amazing community we're developing here. The best on the internet.
Ahidi and Zolqadr, the two maximalists, hardliners, they're calling all the shots with the IRGC.
Kirby Nod saying, if America attacks Iran, what will the other countries do? Will they allow it or step in? What side will they step onto? Genuine question. Great question, buddy. Great question.
So this is a regime that's still very much able to probably project power, but more importantly, crack down on its own people, and which is the biggest fear Iranians have, that once the bombs stop falling, it's open season on them.
You know, I thought it was very interesting that a couple of days ago we heard from one of the leading speakers on the government side. He said, well, there's a new maritime regime in the Strait of Hormuz.
Right.
Yeah. Like, we control everything. But I think a lot of people look at that and they think it's delusional. Because, you know, obviously we can overwhelm them if we decide to militarily in the Strait and open it by force.
Exactly right. Well, delusion is part of the regime's diplomacy. And it's unbelievable how the more they are in a weaker position, the more the bluster becomes louder from the regime's side. And it doesn't surprise me at all that they are falling back on their old tricks of trying to change turn the table around and use brinkmanship to move their agenda forward. What has surprised me, though, is that the regime has signaled a softening of its stance, which hasn't happened.
In what way?
At all. I mean, since the JCPOA, it has used, again, its platform as the leader, as the vanguard of the Islamic nations, to push an agenda forward, which is...
We got Donald J. Trump in the chat throwing up a red card. 2028 red card. Just walking in on the chat. Red card. Oh, man, that's funny. Cool name, too, man.
death to Israel, death to America. And again, as I said before, now it's the secular and non-secular Arab Gulf states in the region. So it has all kinds of enemies, and it's in a very weakened position. I'm just hoping that the president will not take the pressure that much off. I keep thinking of President Reagan and his dealing with the Soviet Empire in 1980. And what he kept talking about was trust but verify.
Right.
And I look at the President Trump, as Lindsey Graham says, the senator, as Reagan 2.0. They're very similar in that manner with the way they were dealing with the adversary. But how are we going to verify the clauses that are going to be agreed upon by the regime? It's tough to do that. It has been tough to do that. They have kicked the inspectors out. They have violated the protocols of the IAEA. And now that they're almost getting choked off by the blockade, and the blockade has been very effective, I've just heard that the regime has trouble paying its workers, the government workers, and it reminds me of the British blockade in 1952 of Iran, where the economy tanked, and the government had to pay its workers in bricks to just stay afloat. I think just having stayed the course so far, and I wish we could continue blockading the regime. I think it was a very effective tool, and if there's any diplomacy being conducted, as it is going to be now in Islamabad, I would be very cautious in lifting the pressure off the regime.
Nazi, thank you very much. You know, we've seen some of the outlines of what is on this list, but as President Trump just said, you know, no one really knows what is in this negotiation unless they're sitting at the table here. But your point, obviously, is so important in terms of verification, because we remember this from the JCPOA. There was no anywhere, anytime inspection. There was no right for the IAE to walk in completely unannounced and look at what was going on. And without that, there's absolutely no guarantee that they won't return quite quickly to their
There's
Ukraine.
never any guarantee as long as this regime is in power.
Captain Blackbird jumping in on the chat saying, Bro said people choosing between one or another is not legitimate. Does there need to be more options, or what makes it illegitimate? Just curious. Thank you for the chat. We're going live every day of 2026. So make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and welcome to the best chat on the internet. Become a member if you want. Throw in a super chat if you want. Talk to me, talk to me.
Power. They rise from the ashes like phoenix.
Yeah.
We need to be more careful.
General Keane said yesterday, what we don't know is that how much U.S. intelligence and Israeli intelligence is working within the country. I think everyone is thinking so much about the people of Iran and the difficult position they're in right now as they look at this potential deal. They don't want to be forgotten. They don't want to be left behind. But we do hope that the intelligence services
Thanks,
are
Barry. Take care, buddy.
doing things that we're not aware of yet, and we will see. Nazi, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Always good to have you with us. The United States hoping for a vote in the coming days on a proposed UN Security Council resolution that would say that Iran must stop attacks in the Strait of Hormuz and help remove the mines that it placed illegally in the strait, or they will face more sanctions. A similar resolution was vetoed by Russia and China last month. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says this shouldn't be difficult to pass.
I think it's a real test for the UN, right? As something that functions that can solve global problems. What is the purpose of the UN? The UN was supposed to be a place where you could peacefully resolve global conflict. Right now, you have a country who is unlawfully, criminally, and illegally taking possession of an international waterway and blowing up commercial vessels and putting mines in the water. All we're asking them to do is to condemn it, to call on Iran to stop blowing ships, to remove these mines, and to allow humanitarian relief to come through, because there's humanitarian aid that's...
Humanitarian relief to come through. Humanitarian aid. Should humanitarian aid go everywhere? Absolutely everywhere. Reason I stopped this video here is because there's a video in regards to humanitarian aid where it's a pretty interesting one. Definitely interesting. And let me play this until I find it.
Trap. That's it. This is a very modest request.
Okay, let's bring in Ambassador Matt Whitaker, permanent representative to NATO and former acting Attorney General. Matt, always good to see you. Thank you for joining us. You know, I mean, he put it very succinctly. This is an international waterway. You just simply are not allowed to put mines in it that could blow up ships that go through there. Why would this not be a no-brainer for the United Nations? And then after that, why would China and Russia not be on board?
Good to be with you. And it is a no-brainer. Obviously, the UN has a credibility problem. You know, many of our allies and, quite frankly, adversaries talk about a rule-based system that is convenient when they want it to be convenient. This would be a chance for the global community to speak with one voice, to say things like shooting at commercial vessels, laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz, are illegal acts and are not tolerated. But, you know, if the Russians and the Chinese decide to veto this, I think it's going to be pretty clear whose side they're on. And that will be a signal to a lot of our allies as to, you know, as to them hurrying to help and support our efforts there. I know that the Charles de Gaulle, the aircraft carrier from the French, just went through the Suez Canal. That's a good signal. We have others that are moving ships in place. But at the same time, you know, President Trump, through his decisive action, has really changed the global situation for the better.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people.
So you guys remember that part where they were talking about humanitarian aid, like open it up so humanitarian aid can go through the Straits of Hormuz, right? Very cool. Like the concept and idea is very cool, but this is a sad, sad video. So what's happening here? Hot metal is flying instead of humanitarian aid on people trying to reach aid supplies. Very interesting, right? Come on, man. Come on. Come on. Doesn't look too happy there, man. The chat USA says, well, what's the whole story? David knows audio says, how much does a Trump admin pay you? Are you talking to me or to somebody else? At me if you're talking to me, because if the Trump administration is hiring, how you doing, buddy? Oh my gosh. Captain Blackbird saying these people are scared for their lives. Josh Wilcarawan, thank you for jumping in the chat, saying all this seems to benefit Israel gaining control. It's just like, dude, they're barricaded, bro. You see that, like on both sides? Barry says, I'm pretty sure this is just a Thursday for them. Oh yeah, tech support. Most moral military force. My rear end. Oh my gosh, y'all. I have no idea. I love everybody. I'm just trying to find the news, you know, see what's going on, over here. How can we find peace?
Just look at how long these countries have dragged their feet on securing an.
Yeah. Captain Blackbird says, visualize yourself and your family in such a position. Nothing normal about this. I feel so bad for them with all the propaganda and now being attacked. Yeah, Barry has been overseas and seen what these people deal with. My goodness. In real life. Tough.
International waterway that is more important to their commerce than it is to ours, certainly, is pretty stunning. And it raises a lot of questions about NATO, which, of course, you are extremely familiar with as our ambassador. This is the Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, speaking to European leaders about the future of international order and saying that it will be built from Europe. Watch this.
Oh, did Paradox Frequency just join in on the chat? Is that what's happening right now? Where'd it go? Paradox says, you find peace by voting for Democrats. Obviously. Can you explain that? Let's see. Did Democrats or Republicans want to defund the police? Both sides accusing the other, but the evidence shows significant nuances. Democratic-led cities generally increase police funding. Republicans have pushed measures that would reduce federal law enforcement funding. Ah, there we go. From this AI. According to this AI, this man, Paradox Frequency, might be correct. You know, maybe you have to vote Democratic. You never know. What do you think, chat? What do you think?
It's my strong personal view.
We got, was that Tara? No, that's Tammy. Thank you for jumping in on the chat. I'm liberal and never wanted to defund the police. There you go.
That as the
happy to have you here. Thank you for jumping in on the chat. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications.
international order will be rebuilt, but it will be rebuilt out of Europe.
Do you agree?
No, that is a total pander, and it's not accurate. I mean, you need strength to lead the world, and how you have strength is with strong economies, strong militaries, and a strong culture. And quite frankly, right now in Europe, that doesn't exist. The United States is obviously pushing our allies here in Europe that are in NATO to become more capable, to have ships and tanks and the types of things that are needed to secure.
Morphing. Rid Monday. G1X says, our involvement isn't wrong. The way we're conducting ourselves is, and arguably makes us worse than the wrong we are fighting. There you go, buddy. There you go.
For peace and
great statement.
Prosperity, and their economies are equally weak. And so, it is not going to be led from Europe. It's going to be led by the United States of America with strong leaders like President Trump.
It's pretty shocking when you think about, the back and forth on Diego Garcia, which the British had control over, and that one of the very first things, and relinquished it just before the war. One of the very first shows of strength that Iran put out there was a missile that went further than anyone thought they had the capability of. And where did they send it? Diego Garcia. I mean, how much more of a wake-up call does NATO need to understand that they have ballistic missile capability that could hit Europe?
Well, I mean, they saw that in real time. Not only did you have the missile go to Diego Garcia, you had several missiles that headed towards Turkey, which is a NATO ally, that were intercepted by our great destroyers in the Mediterranean Sea. I had a chance to visit one while I was in Greece a month ago. But, those are the capabilities that, even as of today, I was talking to our allies that you need to invest at pace to build these capabilities, to be able to join us side by side and to make sure that we have the deterrence that has been eroded because of this illusory peace dividend that they took for the last 40 years.
Mark, before I let you go, I don't know if you had an ability that we might pull some of our troops out of there. We have an enormous financial and human commitment to protecting these countries in Europe, and that could change.
Yeah, I've had a lot of conversations with the Germans. Obviously, President Trump is at all times seeing what's in the interest of the American people and seeing how we need to use our resources. It's not just a matter of protecting our allies or somehow investing American taxpayer dollars in Europe for their security. It is about, the United States being able to, one, do what we've done in Iran to change dramatically the state of play in the Gulf, and to also make sure that we protect our homeland, to protect our other interests around the globe.
Ambassador Matt Whitaker, always good to see you, Matt. Thank you very much for joining us today. Lots to talk to you about.
Brett Baier is joining us now live here in our New York City studio. He is anchor and executive editor of Special Report and author of the brand new best-selling book, The Case for America, an argument on behalf of our nation. Awesome book. Glad to have it in my hands here. Brett, I know you've got some news for us. As we do watch these markets, it's just crazy. Looking at the resilience in the American stock market and now this drop in oil prices down $7 today. What are you hearing?
Well, I had a phone call with the president a short time ago, and he is optimistic about this deal, this memorandum of understanding. Thinks it is going to lead to things. He's cautiously optimistic, I should say. But thinks, and I asked him what the time frame would be. He puts it at a week, getting everything wrapped up. The key part, getting the highly enriched uranium out of Iran, making sure the strait is open completely. And I think there's still a lot of questions about the Iranian leadership. How are they going to back up whatever they sign and agree to on this deal? But there is a sense in his voice that he thinks this is a game changer.
He spoke. It was a while at the White House for this Mother's Day event for our military mothers ahead of the Sunday Mother's Day, and he said this.
Thank you, Barry.
Before your phone call, it sounds like on Iran. Listen.
The blockade is unbelievable. The Navy's been incredible. The job they did, it's like a wall of steel. Nobody goes through. In particular, the Iranians, they're not getting anything through one way or the other, so they're out of business. And we'll see whether or not they are agreeing.
I mean, similar message, it sounds like. But a week. I was watching markets as you were saying that because, of course, that's what the markets are dependent on right now, how much longer this goes on. And President Trump has vowed, and you've heard it from his economic team and beyond, that the price of oil and gas will drop significantly the second that this concludes.
He thinks and is predicting it's going to go down below where it was when we all started this. Listen, you cover this more than I do about the underlying status of the U.S. economy, and it seems pretty resilient no matter what we're doing. Manufacturing up, the jobs numbers, everything's kind of cooking. And had this not happened, this economy might be running a lot harder than it is.
To that point, here's Kevin Hassett on the economic growth outlook for the country. Listen.
I'm highly confident that we're going to be looking at 4% numbers for the rest of the year. The imports were the highest quality imports we've ever seen in the data. It used to be that we were bringing in, stuffed animals from China. Now we're building in things that make chips. And so all of those machines that we imported in the quarter are going to be turning on in factories and creating jobs for the rest of the year.
I mean, all I hear is confidence coming from his economic team. The growth outlook is just beyond. I mean, Larry Kudlow joined us for 2 hours on Monday. I turned into the Larry Kudlow show, and we loved it. But, I mean, he, too, is extremely optimistic. And then anybody who sits here, like our economic panel last hour, says, look at the earnings.
Oh, look at the earnings. Look at the earnings. Look at this absolute work of art by none other than Tech Support. Tech Support says Trump is destroying our relationship with our allies. Do you guys agree with that or not? That's something that's absolutely worrying, and I hope you're wrong, Tech Support. I hope you're 100% wrong. But you never know these days. You never, ever know. We're going live every day of 2026, so make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member, throw in a super chat, become a member by putting, tapping on that join button, and throw in a super chat by hitting that little, on the bottom right, the little square with the money sign on it. And yeah, as a member, you get a bunch of perks and benefits, but we'll go over that in a little bit. Let's see what's going on over here.
And look at the projected growth of these companies. It is just stellar. So you have to imagine if they can get oil and gas prices to come down in this economy, I mean, it's off to the races. That must be the optimism that we're seeing.
I think so. You know, and listen, we should put the caveat on there. There are things that could happen. There are
correct.
There are, you know, speed bumps that could develop, and primarily what the back end of any Iran deal looks like. Okay. You know, because especially the neighbors in the neighborhood are going to be really interested about if the U.S. is leaving, what that looks like.
You know, I'll finish up by putting your book back up, The Case for America, because I love this. And we had Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch on the program yesterday, and I asked him as we were finishing up our chat about his message as we approached the 250th mark. And he said, let's not forget as Americans that this wasn't an easy path to get here. I love this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Breaking news. Breaking news. We got Captain Blackbird in the chat saying, the world is not a GTA Grand Theft Auto map, buddy. Come on. Come on. Amazing chat. Thank you, buddy, for jumping in on the chat. Always a pleasure to have you here.
I mean, basically, this is a case in front of a jury saying, what's the argument for America ahead of the 250th? Mm-hmm. And it uses voices from the past, all the presidents I've written about, and then contemporary voices like Ken Langone and Condoleezza Rice and all kinds of different people saying what's important to remember is what we have, and we have to protect it.
Love that. Brett, great to see you.
You too.
Thank you so much.
All right, Sandra, as Trey reported moments ago, Central Command says U.S. forces from the USS Abraham Lincoln disabled an Iranian-flagged tanker in the Gulf of Oman after it ignored multiple warnings it attempted to continue toward an Iranian port in the Strait of Hormuz. I guess that would probably be Bandar Abbas. Sign that the United States military is ready to resume combat operations if needed. Let's bring in retired Admiral Mark Montgomery, Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Mark, good to have you with us this afternoon. So the question that I had right off the bat here is, why do you think the president suspended Operation Freedom? He had the Iranians right where he wanted them. Why throw them any kind of bone by saying, you know what, we're not going to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz?
So as you know, and as Trey reported, he kept the blockade in place. So that's important. In other words, he kept the real pressure on the Iranians in place so that they negotiate effectively with us, you know, in a way that is conciliatory. What he did was remove. He had said that he was demonstrating them with his operation that he could provide for secure transit for fuel from our Arab partners that would get to our European and Asian allies who need it. But he also knew that in doing that, he was causing an escalation ladder with Iran. In other words, he tried to strike the ships, they failed. Tried to strike the Navy ships with them, they failed. And then tried to strike UAE, and they largely failed there. But in doing that, he realized if it happens again, he's going to have to respond, and that could start an escalation ladder. So as soon as he got some kind of indication they would negotiate and move forward.
Yeah, I wonder if there's also something about China in there, too, that he didn't want to tick off the Chinese by blocking all the oil that they get from Iran, and meantime letting other countries through, particularly when Iran's foreign minister is in Beijing right now, and the president's headed to meet Xi Jinping next week.
But I think that last part's really exactly it. You're right. I mean, the other parts are important, but...
Foldem 9235 jumping on the chat saying, look for yourself at the IRGC mission statement. Thank you for the chat, buddy. What happens if we do look at it? What's going on? By the way, we're going live every single day of 2026, so make sure you like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, become a member, throw in a super chat, help support this channel, keep this channel afloat. Thank you so much. We got Captain Blackbird saying, could you show us the IRGC mission statement? Yeah, let's see it. Let's see it. The mission of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Can you guys see that or not really? Let me see. Just do one of these right here for you. Bam, bam, bam. Gotta fight this cat a little bit. All right, quit playing around, dude. What are you doing? Is to defend Iran's Islamic revolutions, its achievements, and the theoretic regime, both domestically and internationally. According to its constitutional mandate, the IRGC is tasked with protecting the system of velayat-e. They're trying to get me banned, bro. I can't say that word. FAQIH, which is guardianship of the jurist, promoting Islamic ideals and combating internal and external threats to the regime. Core aspects of the RGC include defending the Islamic Revolution, a primary duty rather than protecting Iran's territorial sovereignty. So they don't really care about Iran's territorial sovereignty. Suppressing domestic opposition, so enforcing ideological conformity with internal threats considered a higher priority than foreign military dangers. Exporting the revolution abroad through the Quds Force, which supports proxy groups and advances Iran's regional influence. That's a little dangerous here. The Quds Force, which supports proxy groups. Very, very dangerous there. Promoting the sovereignty of God's law globally, famed as a form of jihad in accordance with Shia Islamist ideology, operating under the direct command of the supreme leader, ensuring loyalty to the clerical leadership rather than the state of the people. So when they say operating under the direct command of the supreme leader, that means the IRGC is directly attached to Iran only, right? Because Iran is Iran the only one with a supreme leader? No, Iran is not only country. Iran is one of the most well-known. Oh, there's another one, Kim Jong-un, supreme leader of Afghanistan, where Hibatullah, the Taliban regimes. The concept of a supreme leader in Iran is rooted in 12 Shia Islam, and the doctrine of that, which gives leader both religious and political authority. In Iran's history, only 2 individuals have held the office: Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini and Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, which is the one that just passed, and then Mujtabi Khamenei. Are these all from the same family? It's a little weird, right? No, Ruhollah Khomeini and Ali Khamenei were not from the same family. They belong to 2 distinct political dynasties that successfully led Iran. All right. Yeah. There you go.
The meeting on May 14th and 15th is critical to the president. I think he considers that his most important.
By the way, we're going live every day of 2026, so make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and trying to make your life better by, doing all these great things and putting a lot of effort towards you guys, trying to bring you some value. So if you are a member, you get a lot of value. And we just got done designing some logos for some of these members, which was a lot of fun, and it's in the members only private live stream. So if you want to go check that out, become a member, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Important meeting potentially of this first 2 years of his second term. So he did not want to jeopardize that meeting. And if this escalates out of control with Iran, we get into full-scale kinetic operations, I think the meeting would be canceled. So he was not going to let that happen. And, if you go back in time, you might start this secure transit operation after the May 14th, 15th meeting. But we'd started it now. I think he could see the escalation management issues. He backed out of it. He may or may not be getting a good deal from the Iranians. You can see the the kind of obfuscation in their public comments.
Yeah, so in terms of the public comments versus what the memorandum of understanding might yield, here's what the MOU has, according to Axios. Declare an end to the war, start a 30-day negotiating period, a moratorium on enrichment, the timing of that to be determined. The U.S. wants 20 years, Iran saying 5. Upon the expiration of that moratorium, enrichment will be limited to slightly less than 4%. No underground nuclear.
Foldem 9235 says, you look like Christian Bale right now. Thank you, brother. Whether that's a compliment or a diss. Either way, thank you. Thanks for noticing. We noticed you. And make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Go on live every day of 2026. Become a member. Throw in a super chat. Help support this channel. Thank you so much.
Facilities. Iran to promise to never pursue a nuclear weapon. Iran to remove the nuclear dust that it's produced, that's a highly enriched uranium, to an outside country, which may be the United States, maybe Russia as well. Enhanced inspections, including SNAP IAEA inspections, free passage through the Strait of Hormuz, and the U.S. to gradually lift sanctions. The problem that the president had.
We got Bob Desi, 25-2 says, I am a Canadian. We are embracing our European allies like never before. The entire world is turning its back on America. Trump did that. There you go. He's probably not a fan of Trump, right?
As is. I mean, you might get some leaders in the Iranian regime to say, yes, this is something we might be able to agree to. And then there's other people in the regime, more likely on the IRGC side, who would say, never in a million years will we ever capitulate to the invading aggressor. I mean, so does the president know, really, if he can even sign something?
Well, he can sign something. I think he needs to know, and his successors need to know, that Iran is an untrustworthy state and has been for 47 years. So, but one thing I'll tell you, he still has the U.S. Air Force and U.S. Navy with F-35s. The Israelis still have F-35s. And there's nothing in the world the Iranians can build, or that the Chinese or Russians can sell them, that will stop us from being able to reopen Iran to a devastating air campaign. We've done it once. We can do it again. So I think he has that as a kind of an ace in his back pocket.
All right. Well, a lot, as you point out, may hinge on what these meetings bring next week when the president heads off to Beijing. Good to talk to you, Rear Admiral. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Sandra.
What is the purpose of the UN? The UN was supposed to be a place where you could peacefully resolve global conflict. Right now, you have a country who is unlawfully, criminally, and illegally taking possession of an international waterway and blowing up commercial vessels and putting mines in the water. All we're asking them to do is to condemn it. And if you're telling me that the international community and hundreds of countries cannot rally behind that, then I don't know what the utility of the UN system is.
Breaking tonight, Secretary of State Marco Rubio on asking the United Nations for some support in getting Iran to end its blocking of the Strait of Hormuz. Let's get some thoughts tonight from the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, sure, Brett.
We're in the middle of this, what the president is looking at on this proposal, this one-pager, this memorandum of understanding. I talked to him today, and there was this sense of optimism, not, I'd say cautious optimism, that they maybe get to a deal within a week. However, at the same time, you have the
Captain Blackbird jumping in on the chat saying, the Lord hates hypocrites.
The United Nations, Iran has introduced a new mechanism, the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, to regulate maritime transit through the strategic strait.
We got Danny Sharp jumping in on the chat saying, I wish we had Trump as our prime minister in the UK. There we go. Thank you for jumping in on the chat, Danny. Appreciate it, buddy. Let's see. Oh, you can't really see that super chat if I leave it there. Let's, I think that's a little bit better right there. That's legible, right? It's a little better. We're going live every day of 2026, so make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Become a member. It helps the channel. You get a bunch of perks. Janice Farmer jumping on the chat saying, Danny, who will be glad? We will be glad to let you have them. There you go. There you go.
Strait of Hormuz. That's according to Iranian state media. Under the system, vessels intended to pass through the strait will receive guidance from an official email address outlining the rules for transit. Ships are required to comply with the framework and obtain prior authorization before crossing the waterway. That doesn't seem like it's going to fly.
No, absolutely not. It's in violation of all kinds of international laws, Hague Convention, Geneva Convention, law of the sea. I mean, Brett, it'd be like, I don't know, can Spain and Morocco, if they get into some kind of conflict, hypothetically, of course, start throwing sea mines into the Straits of Gibraltar and start charging shipping to go through and punish all of the Mediterranean until the other side gives? So there's a really important precedent here on the freedom of navigation that I think the world takes for granted. But that's what this next UN resolution that Secretary Rubio was actually talking about there is, no matter what your conflict is, whether you agree with it or not, you can't respond by sowing sea mines in international waterways and then trying to charge tolls. And clearly, Iran is thinking about announcing setting up an infrastructure to do just that.
I mean, the administration doesn't hide the fact that it doesn't have a great relationship with the UN as far as its respect for its ability to get big things across the finish line. It would seem like this would be a thing that the world would say, oh no, you can't do this. Is the world saying that?
Well, one would think. Last month, Bahrain, which is also on the Security Council, that's been attacked by Iran, led a resolution. A UN record, 136 countries agreed. That resolution was condemning Iran for attacking civilian infrastructure, launching missiles into ports and airports and hotels and resorts. I mean, they've literally attacked their neighbors in all directions, trying to sow max pain in order to gain.
Foldum 9235. Are you talking to me? Do you want me to look that up?
Some kind of leverage. You saw international condemnation for them doing that. What we're asking is additional condemnation for the sea mines that they put in, for the toll and the toll system that they're trying to levy on every ship that passes through, which of course would then be passed on to consumers all over the world.
And I just think...
who's going to oppose that? I mean, that's the question we're really asking.
Right.
China and Russia going to oppose that on the Security Council? One would hope not, because their economies are affected as well.
Judging what Iran's putting forward, like what they want to try to do, even if this deal works out, and there are real questions about how the Iranians who are doing the negotiations, are they the same Iranians who are going to back up what is put on the piece of paper? But let's just say a deal works out. It's still going to take time, right, to make sure this all is implemented?
That's right. Well, it's going to be inspect and verify. There will be no trust involved there, in making sure another UN agency, the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, can get its inspectors in and inspect anytime, anywhere, that Iran is abiding by any deal that their negotiators sign up to. But regardless of that, to your point, you've still got sea mines floating in international waterways. You've still got this attempt to extract tolls. And this is what we're asking the international community to condemn and say absolutely not just for now, but any future conflict.
The president was asked today about China. He's getting ready to go to Beijing. He said that the Chinese president is actually talking about this, trying to be helpful. I had the former Prime Minister of Australia here to set up, do an interview and set up his trip to Beijing. Talked about China and Iran and what they're trying to do. Take a listen. On Iran, do you believe that China feels like it could have some kind of interlocutor position or somehow try to get the U.S. and Iran to a negotiated settlement?
What I know about the Chinese system is that it acts always in terms of Chinese national self-interest. I would suggest that Beijing is transitioning to a position of saying, whereas we like America to feel uncomfortable about its current position in Iran, we Chinese have fundamental economic interests which may cause us to act with the Iranians.
You see that? You see the Chinese kind of moving a little bit?
We do see some movement. Number one, because of the blockade that President Trump, I think, frankly, brilliantly put in place, it was China that was buying 90% of Iran's illegal sanctioned oil. Now it no longer has access to it. And so the Chinese economy is now being affected by this blockade. That's number one. And then number two, again, with this resolution we're putting before the Security Council that China's on, Is it going to side with Bahrain and Saudi Arabia and the UAE and Qatar and Kuwait, or is it going to side with Iran going forward? And I think we could see some positive movement here. And then, of course, you've got the President Trump's trip next week, and I think everybody's incentivized to get this cleaned up and cleared up so that we can deal with the bigger bilateral issues.
And I know you're dealing with the situation at the UN and the resolution you're trying to get, but if you talk to people, for example, a lot of Democrats say there's whiplash here, back and forth. We're going to bomb them. We see progress in the deal. We're going to erase them. We see progress in that this is maybe going to happen. What do you say to them about that back and forth and what the president's really trying to get to here?
I say the president knows how to use leverage. And as now a diplomat, but a former soldier, our diplomats need to be backed by the big stick of the United States military and by a commander-in-chief who's willing to use it. What did we have in the last administration? We had a commander-in-chief that basically told our adversaries what he was or wasn't going to do ahead of any kind of negotiation. And that's how you get horrific deals like the JCPOA, the Iran deal that President Trump rightly got us out of. Look, there's that piece, and then you're dealing with a regime that chants death to America, that talks about wiping Israel off the face of the earth with a nuclear weapon, and that is obsessed and absorbing a heck of a lot of pain with getting that nuclear weapon. So if we have some tough tweets or some tough truths, or he has to use some tough language, so be it. The ceasefire's in place. We're back to diplomacy. We're driving a deal that, frankly, only President Trump could do.
Verify, then trust, maybe. We'll see.
Verify, and then verify, and then verify again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think trust goes anywhere in there with the Iranian regime.
Mr. Ambassador, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, Brett.
There you go.
Hey, everyone. I'm
Thank
Emily
you, Foldem.
Campagno.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Catch me and my co-host.
Oops. Where is that frame of Trump with the helicopter? Oh, that's not Trump. Oh, just to let you guys know, whenever you see Restream bot, it's not a bot. It's just relaying questions. So whatever you see after the bot, that @ and then that's usually their username, just so there's no confusion, because they're streaming on multiple platforms. We got Kick, Rumble, YouTube, and one more. Oh, Twitch, I think. Chris Hansen vs. Predator says, aren't the clergy and leadership of Iran ethnic Persians? I can't read Debuno's chat, but there you go. ASW Hippie jumping in on the chat, throwing in some jokes, saying, Pox, news, Iser. Ayo. Canadian conservative saying Trump is a smart man. There we go. There we go. I think ASW wants me to read that one too. Saying Trump is a rambling, slobbering, knuckle dragging POO P pants. There you go, buddy. There you go. Cool. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every day of 2026. Throw in a super chat if you want. Become a member. It helps the channel survive, and you gain so much as a member. You gain so much. It's absolutely wonderful. Actually, I'm going to show you what you gain as a member. But let me show you the next one very quick. This is kind of interesting. This isn't very, very recent, but I haven't seen this one, and we'll see how it looks. This is about the Island Man. Yo, Twisties, let me show you something. This is a relay bot. So it's after you see Restream, whatever you see @ That's what it is.
Even in death, the secrets of Jeffrey Epstein remain tightly guarded. But earlier this year, I spearheaded a Wired investigation that uncovered the data of almost 200 mobile phones belonging to visitors to his infamous pedophile island. The data was so precise, we were able to map the paths of these visitors to within centimeters, including their neighborhoods, buildings of origins, and the paths they took to get to the island. These digital trails document the numerous
very cool effects.
Trips of wealthy and influential individuals, seemingly undeterred by Epstein's status as a convicted sex offender. Wired's analysis of the data is ongoing, and it raises profound questions about privacy and surveillance. This is Epstein Island's secret data on the grid. This is Little St. James, aka Epstein Island. These red dots on the map represent some of the 11,279 coordinates I obtained. They were left exposed online by a location data broker with ties to the Defense Department called NIR Intelligence. Between 2016 and Epstein's final arrest in 2019, NIR collected data on more than 200 cell phones that visited the island. We don't know why they did that or which client or prospective client of NIR decided to query the data in this way to produce the maps. But the maps you'll see in this video show where visitors to Epstein Island spent most of their time. Let's take a step back. You might be wondering, where is Epstein Island anyways? Well, it's here. Little St. James is a private island that is part of the U.S. Virgin Islands, an unincorporated territory of the
This is Florida right here, just southeast of Florida.
United States in the Caribbean Sea. Epstein purchased Little St. James in 1998 for $7.95 million. It's about 71 acres, the size of 54 football fields. He made the island his primary residence and soon after began welcoming visitors and throwing infamous parties where he was accused of having groomed, sexually assaulted, and trafficked untold numbers of women and girls. The maps of the data collected by NIR, and which we at Wired recreated here, indicate the most visited spots on the island. From the main house here with the pool, to the beaches and the large sundial, it's all on display, including the enigmatic Hilltop Temple site over here, which has been the focal point in speculations about Epstein's mysterious activities on the island. But the tracking of phones wasn't contained to Little St. James. Surveillance continued long after the visitors left. The data reveals the locations of visitors 30 minutes before and after arriving on the island, which shows us the exact routes everyone took to get there. Some landed here, at the Cyril E. King Airport on neighboring St. Thomas Island. With its private jet and VIP terminals, it was the go-to hub for Epstein's 200-seater Boeing 727 plane dubbed Lolita Express. We see data points clustered at various area beaches, hotels, and luxury resorts, including the Ritz-Carlton Hotel here. To get to Epstein's Island, many visitors got on a boat at a designated dock at the American Yacht Harbor, a private marina on St. Thomas co-owned by Epstein at the time. From there, we see a flow of movement through Great St. James Island, the larger island just to the north, which Epstein purchased in 2016 for $22 million. He had hoped to develop it, but was met with legal challenges after damaging the island's coral reefs and protected habitats. The data then traces visitors' movements as they are ferried to Epstein's private dock on Little St. James. Epstein also had a helipad on the island and owned at least one helicopter, a Sikorsky S-76, which he used often to transport himself, guests, and victims from the airport or elsewhere, according to legal documents and testimony. It's worth noting that the data reveals a regular flow of traffic to and from Little St. James between 2016 and 2019. A lot of people were visiting the island even after Epstein had pleaded guilty in 2008 and served jail time for procuring a minor for prostitution. If we keep following the data trail and we widen our view, we'll see that the tracking of visitors continues once they have left the island and presumably gone back home. The NIR intelligence data we uncovered pinpoints 166 locations throughout the United States in 80 cities across 26 states. Topping the list were Florida, Massachusetts, Texas, Michigan, and New York. The data points are labeled as common evening locations or common daytime locations, typically their homes or work. Many of the visitors were likely wealthy, as indicated by coordinates pointing to gated communities in Michigan, as well as homes in Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket in Massachusetts.
Oh, we heard about that, Martha's Vineyard.
We even have data points from a downtown Miami nightclub, and also the sidewalk across the street from Trump Tower in New York City. Before we jump to conclusions, some sources have highlighted interactions between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein at social events. But after Epstein's 2008 conviction, there are no verified reports of Trump maintaining a relationship with a convicted pedophile.
We got Kirby Nod saying, this is what NUKs are for. Man, oh man. We got the best chat in the world. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every single day of 2026. And become a member. Throw in a super chat if you want. It makes the page much better. Helps support us. And I love you. The Lord loves you. Let's learn something. Let's go. Let's find the real thing. The real reason Island Man was doing this stuff.
Take a look at this point over here in New Mexico. This is a property that was owned by Epstein, a secluded 8,000-acre ranch. Another property of Epstein's is seen over here on El Brio Way in Palm Beach, Florida. This waterfront mansion was sold, demolished, and is now being rebuilt. But it was where prosecutors claimed Epstein trafficked numerous underage girls with the
sold, demoed. What about just being investigated instead of being demoed? What did they demo it for? Demolish it for? That's what demo means. When you take it down, take it all the way down. All right.
The intention of molesting and abusing them. But we don't just see the coordinates of...
Oh, we got an amazing chat in here, y'all. We got an amazing chat. We gotta highlight it. Harvey Chandler says, thank you for saying God loves you. That's right. The Lord does love you. Even if you think sometimes the Lord doesn't, the Lord does. It's not said enough. And I love you too. And make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every day of 2026.
Of wealthy homes amongst the data. The median household income of Palm Beach is more than twice that of nearby communities where we also see data points.
Chad says, Bill Clinton loved going there.
Some of these points could represent victims or employees who worked on the island, which is why we're careful about revealing names and continue to carefully analyze the data. If we zoom out more, we notice something strange. There are no data points anywhere in Europe. Does this mean it was strictly Americans visiting Jeffrey Epstein on his island? No. We do see data points from the cache identifying origin cities in Australia, the Cayman Islands, and way over here in Kyiv in Ukraine. We know that Epstein himself had a place in Paris. And we know from victim testimony and flight logs that his associate, Jean-Luc Brunel, owner of a modeling agency in Paris, did visit the island. So why don't we see these data points? One possibility could be Europe's extensive privacy laws. Considered the strongest privacy and security law in the world, the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, gives
Chad USA says that dude was a demon for sure.
Europeans robust rights to their personal data, even outside of Europe. Under comparatively
asked about user TT. I don't know. I didn't see user TT in a while. He might be here.
lax U.S. privacy laws, Near Intelligence was able to source its location data for this precision surveillance. To explain how this data might have been collected in the first place, we need to talk about the world of digital advertising and data brokers. The reason you get a targeted ad displayed on an app or a website is because apps on your phone have been transmitting information about you to ad exchanges and real-time bidding platforms. That information often includes your location data. Data brokers like Near Intelligence extract, repackage, analyze, and sell the data from these ad platforms.
User TT has joined the chat. There we go. Wasn't Island Man Ranch next to Gene Hackman? I don't know.
In fact, according to internal company documents from 2019, Near Intelligence, which has roots in Singapore and Bengaluru, India, claimed to have information on around 1.6 billion people in 44 countries. They offer a platform for searching that allows their clients to query their vast dataset. By drawing a box around a specific area like Little St. James, Near then provides insights about the devices it observed within the selected area. We don't know who or why someone searched Epstein Island, but the reports and maps they created were sitting unprotected and totally searchable as publicly accessible code. And that's where we found them. And those aren't the only Near Intelligence datasets that we found. Google's web crawlers were able to locate at least 2 other reports, one geofencing the Westfield Mall in the Netherlands, and another targeting a park in El Paso, Texas. This is data unrelated to our investigation about Epstein Island, but it shows how unsafe personal data can be. In some cases, it's just a Google search away. So pro tip, if you don't want your personal data swimming around in the murky waters of programmatic advertising, make sure you limit ad tracking on your phone, disable location services and third-party cookies, and use an ad blocker. So what happened to the island after Epstein reportedly committed suicide in a Manhattan federal jail while awaiting trial for sex trafficking? Well, in May of 2023, billionaire investor Stephen Dieckhoff purchased both Little St. James and Great St. James for $60 million. He's currently building a luxury resort on Little St. James that he says could open as early as 2025. Also, Ghislaine Maxwell, former British socialite and Epstein accomplice, was convicted in 2021 on 5 counts, including sex trafficking of minors by force. Maxwell was arrested in Bradford, New Hampshire, tracked to $1 million home by federal agents using location data pulled from her cell phone. I'm Dhruv Mehrotra. The Wired investigation into the secret data of Epstein's Island continues.
Yeah, that's wild, man. That is just absolutely wild.
You got that little bag of weed in your pocket that you know about? I don't know what happened to that, honestly. Like,
Cali Chica, how you feeling after your birthday? Did you enjoy? The Chad USA says, oh, so Trump wouldn't see him when he knew he was a P3D. There you go. Yeah. U.S. Army Sergeant who danced with Melania Trump speaks out. Is she a good dancer? That's what we wonder.
Shall we dance? We're speaking to the lucky Army Sergeant who danced with Melania Trump at the Commander-in-Chief Ball on inaugural night. All eyes were on the strapping soldier who cut in on the president and gave the First Lady a twirl. He's Sergeant Henry Waller.
Hey, Captain Blackbird, I'm gonna change one of these settings right now. So let me know if like the audio and the video goes really bad in like the next 2 minutes, if you can.
When I walked out on stage, I was trying to contain my composure, but we were told that it's not like ceremonial composure. We can smile if you want to, and I was just overwhelmed with joy being out on the stage where all those people are cheering for me.
The First Lady smiled broadly as they danced.
Did the First Lady say anything to you?
I asked her how her night was going. She said it was going good. She asked me how mine was. I said it was fantastic.
Is the First Lady a good dancer?
Oh yeah, she's a really good dancer.
Did you get to rehearse?
The only rehearsing I did was back home with my wife dancing with her.
Hallelujah! While Sergeant Waller danced with Mrs. Trump, President Trump took a spin with...
Do you see any difference within the quality now?
Sergeant Tatiana Saldana from the United States Space Force. Vice President J.D. Vance and wife Usha also switched dancing partners. The Veep was joined by Staff Sergeant Lexis Martinez of the United States Marine Corps.
Were you nervous?
I was very nervous because I've never done anything like that before.
Is he a good dancer?
Better than me. Better than me. I was so nervous, I probably looked like I had 2 left feet.
Her boyfriend shot...
This girl, I'm going backwards right here, but she looks so happy. She looks like she was just so happy to be there and to go through those things. Good for her.
Nervous, I probably looked like I had 2 left feet.
And how's the audio and the video? Is there a big change, Captain Blackbird?
Her boyfriend shot video of the priceless moment.
Appreciate it.
That's my girlfriend!
Usha tripped the light fantastic with Petty Officer Emmanuel. Sergeant Waller's an honor guard who can be seen at state funerals and White House arrivals. He was also selected for his height. He's 6'6".
There you go. Tall man. Ba-da-da. Yeah. And when the man is a little bit taller than the woman, then what happens? Makes that woman look petite and cute and very nice, very nice. What a gentleman to do that. Let a hero dance with the first lady. What a privilege. What a privilege. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member, throw in a super chat if you want. And what do we have going on over here? Oh, we have the legal earthquake and video perfect too. Awesome. Awesome. Oh, actually, hey, I love everybody. The Lord loves you. I need to restart the stream. I will see you back in about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, because we gotta get some things going. So yeah, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. See you in a few minutes.